Welcome to today's video on 4-3 part 3. We're just going to go over and review some concepts of how to find sine, cosine, tangent of angles and how to do some of the problems depending upon what quadrant the angle is in. First off, let me get a pen color here. Tangent of 300 degrees. Remember, 300 degrees is in the third quadrant. Actually, in the fourth, sorry. You're going to start here, and you're going to go around to 300 degrees. Right there. So that means our reference angle here is 60 degrees. And remember the ratios of a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. It's going to be 1, rad 3, and 2, because the rad 3 goes across from the 60. So remember here our point, the x-coordinate, if you divide everything by 2, the x-coordinate will be 1/2, and the y-coordinate will be rad 3 over 2, and it'll be negative because it's in the fourth quadrant. So remember, tangent is x over y, so it's going to be negative rad 3, or sorry, tangent is y over x. So it's going to be negative rad 3 over 2 over 1/2. When you multiply, remember you flip it, so it's going to be negative rad 3. So the tangent of 300 degrees is negative rad 3. The sine of 450. Well, remember, whenever it is bigger than 360 degrees or it's negative, we want to find the coterminal angle. That is between 0 and 360 degrees. So if I add 360, I still have negative 90. So if I add 360 more, I get positive 270. Which means that this angle is on the axis. It is what's called a quadrantal angle. And remember, you use the point here. Well, if it's a unit circle, this point is 0, -1. And since we're finding sine, and sine, remember, is equal to y, so the sine of negative 450 is equal to -1. All right, next problem says to find theta such that tangent is undefined, or sorry, cosecant is undefined, and theta is between 0 and 2 pi, which means that we're trying to figure out where the cosecant is undefined between 0 and 2 pi or 0 and 360 degrees. Well, undefined only happens in a quadrantal angle. And remember, the cosecant is equal to the reciprocal of the sine. So the cosecant is only undefined where the sine is equal to 0. So it's undefined only when sine is equal to 0. Well, there's two places where the sine is equal to 0. The sine is equal to 0, and remember, sine is y at 0, because remember, this is 1, 0. And at 180 degrees, because this would be -1, 0. That is where the sine is equal to 0, because remember, sine is y. So there's two places. Theta could equal 0 degrees or 180 degrees, which in radians is 0 and pi. Because if it gives you the interval in terms of radians, then you want your final answer in terms of radians. The next one, find the tangent, or find theta such that the tangent is undefined, and it's between 0 and 2 pi. Remember, tangent is y over x, and remember, since y is sine and cosine is x, tangent is also known as sine over cosine. Well, this means that theta is undefined when the cosine is 0. Well, if you look at the unit circle, the cosine, which is x, is 0 at 90 degrees, because this would be 0, 1, or 270 degrees, because it'd be 0 and negative 1. So theta is equal to 90 degrees or 270 degrees, and when we change those to radians, it becomes pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 as our answers. All right, final question. It says to find the theta if the tangent of theta is negative 1 and the sine is 0. Well, remember, tangent is negative. If you remember, all students take calculus. The tangent is negative in the second and the fourth. The sine is negative in the third and fourth. So that means our angle has to be in the fourth quadrant. So if we draw the picture, this angle's in the fourth quadrant. And it says the tangent is negative 1, which means that the opposite over the adjacent is negative 1, which means the x-coordinate is positive and the y-coordinate is negative, which means that this has to be a 45, 90 right triangle. And since the reference angle is 45, that means the actual angle theta has to be 360 minus 45, which is 315 degrees. That is theta. And in radians, 315 degrees, if I multiply times pi over 180, will give me 7 pi over 4. And that is the final answer. All right, I hope you guys have had a good spring break, and we will review how to find sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, and cotangent in class. But I hope you had a good spring break, and I will see you on Monday. Have a good evening.